am I getting the most out of the company as well? I know companies know how to get the most out of us, but are we getting the most out of the companies that we're in? Are we asking people, can I sit next to you and learn something? Are we asking, can we go on this course, or can I work on this project? Just try and get the most out of things.
Welcome to Productside Stories, the podcast where we reveal the very real and raw lessons learned from product leaders and thinkers all over the world. I'm your host, Nicole Tieche. In this segment, we interview today's trailblazing women in product management. Today, our guest is Millie Zah, head of product at DAZN. I'm very excited to have her with us today and hear some of her insights and experiences in the world of product management. So welcome, Millie.
Thanks so much, Nicole. Extremely excited to be here today. After listening to so many of the sessions, really excited to be here.
Fantastic. Thank you. I'm so excited to get to hear your story. And I'd love to start with your educational background is in business, management, and art, which is such an interesting combination. And I'd love to hear, how did you go from there and get into product management?
Yeah, sure. So it kind of started out as the business and management side at kind of university, education side of things. And then the art actually came into it after I'd already started product management. So kind of after university, I kind of got into the marketing side of things and growth, and that slowly navigated it into product. And I realized that growth essentially is really product. And then we kind of got approached by the Royal College of Art, and it was like, what you kind of do in the tech world is really synonymous to what we're doing in the art world as well. So come and kind of learn around architecture, how we build things, how we design things, for people who have disabilities, and how we, like what art looks like from a wider perspective, because what you're doing is essentially very similar. So that's kind of how it navigated into the art world. And some of the things that I kind of took from that over 10 years ago are still so valuable today. And when I'm thinking about how is someone perceiving what you're designing and what you're building, how is someone maybe, like I said, with a disability, or kind of myself, I'm dyslexic, how is someone with dyslexia or autism like kind of perceiving and looking at what you're building and developing and designing for them. So it was kind of slightly different, but all kind of linked together somehow.
Yes, how fantastic. I have to admit, I haven't thought of all of those aspects. So do you consider yourself a creative product manager or a product management of artistry?
A really, really good question, because I've never ever thought myself as creative. But I guess so. I'm more, I guess I always think there's kind of three different types of product managers, and you normally shift. So there's kind of more the technical product managers, the more commercially business driven product managers, and the more customer centric ones, who I guess tend to be slightly more creative. So I think I move between the three. But I'd say I'd more sit in that kind of UX, customer focused, creative side of the product management side of things. The blue sky thinking and the theory of it all, which sometimes is slightly more fun.
I love that. And that really speaks to people who are listening and have that maybe a creative background and can see themselves with a shift into product management, perhaps. I love how so many paths can take us to product management. So it sounds like such a fascinating background. What would you say today is really inspiring you in the world of product management?
I think what's really inspiring me is I've always, like I said, my focus has always been kind of growth. Like, how can we reach as many users as possible? And then that was, how can we reach as many different types of users as possible? And whether that's being kind of neurodivergent or different kind of race or ethnicity. But now it's really like globalization. I feel like building a product that you can then adapt to different languages and into different countries and to different needs and different policies in different regions. Those are the things that are really exciting me at the moment. At DAZN, I heavily kind of look after our boxing proposition, and that initially was really kind of the UK, the US, and Canada. That's really now very quickly evolving to kind of Mexico, Saudi Arabia, where sports is really taking off. And the way we have to think about the product in those regions is completely different. The core offering is the same, but the product has to be very different. So what's really exciting me at the minute is just kind of how you've got this concept, you've got this idea, you've got this product, but how it prongs out into so many different areas depending on where you're launching your product and who you're launching your product for. So yeah, I guess the kind of globalization, localization part is really exciting to me at the minute, and keeping that personalization region per region, even though you're developing products that millions and millions of people are using, how can every single one of those individuals feel like they're having a personalized experience?
Yes, like it sounds like a challenge, right?
Yeah, for
Exciting, but
sure.
also a challenge. So, what are you learning in this process? Is there something you can share that you've learned about a particular market or geography as you're expanding?
Yeah, sure. Like I said, in the world of sports and in design, like I said, Saudi Arabia is becoming like really up and coming. We've got, I think, Winter Olympics coming up there. A lot of the football and golf and boxing is taking place out there. So the way we communicate with users is very different. First of all, from our design, we need to design completely differently, because everything kind of is different from being kind of left aligned to being right aligned. And just their text and the characters that they use are so different. So our design elements need to be really different. There's lots of different policies that we need to start thinking about. Certain things that we might communicate kind of later on in the product journey, we need to communicate a lot earlier on. So it's been really exciting understanding that landscape, communicating with people within that region, communicating with people that live there but aren't necessarily from there, and just having so many different use cases. That's been really interesting. But I think, yeah, the real challenging thing is, how do we communicate our message but in a completely different language on a product that is completely like different alignment than the way we do it? Because you don't think about things like the button that you might click when you're signing into Netflix. You're always expecting that button to be in the same place. When you're scrolling, you're expecting the text to be in the same place. And if I want to add something to my list, the button is always, and it's the same across many other products, completely different in this market, completely different UX, and people expecting different things from the product. So that's a real challenge, but an interesting problem to solve.
Yeah, I would imagine. Were you involved in a lot of market research around that to really
Um,
discover what needed to change?
I think yes and no. So in the sense of, we've got this stuff coming up, we've signed some big contracts, we need to get some things out, let's get some stuff out. Lots of mistakes coming from that, and it's always that challenge between, we need to get things out, but we also need to learn and develop things really quickly and iterate really quickly. So I would have loved to have had a bit more time to do that research and really speak to users and understand them. But having to do that in parallel with building and launching was a challenge. But again, I feel like probably a challenge that a lot of people in the product space encounter. We don't always have the luxury of being able to do that deep research before
Mm.
launching something into the market. So yeah, it's like we're kind of like a year into working in that particular market, but still learning things every single day and trying to adapt as quickly as we can.
I imagine. And as the head of product, I'm sure you work with a whole team of people. And how do you navigate your team working through this process?
I guess whenever I'm kind of working with my team in general, it's just really, and stakeholders for that fact, even people that aren't in
Yes.
my team, what's everybody's motivation, understanding what everybody's motivation is in whatever we do. And then it would be the same when it comes to kind of localization and building things in different markets. Um, can I really understand, can I impart the message to them around why we're expanding into these markets, why
Mhm.
this is important, and kind of making sure they have the why, so then they can kind of take what they can from that and their motivations. And I think when everybody is slightly more motivated and I understand everyone's motivation, it's easier to solve certain problems. For example, some of our team are more interested in kind of the policy side of things, and understanding what the market looks like. So can we get people kind of working on that? And then other members of the team, like I said, some of our designers are extremely interested in it. It's a new challenge for them to design in a slightly different way. So are we getting the right people working on the designs? So yeah, lots of challenges, but yeah, understanding everyone's motivations and where everyone may best sit in the process, and making sure we've got all the right stakeholders involved.
Right. Yeah, I imagine. And that does, as you say, it's a challenge as you're working through it and you're
Yeah,
constantly learning. You don't get that luxury
yeah,
of learn it all first
yeah, making
and
lots
then
of
apply.
mistakes.
It's learning throughout the whole process, which I
Yeah,
imagine is challenging. So,
yeah.
perfect. Yeah. What is your favorite part of this growth process?
Um, I think, one, actually seeing the growth. So seeing more and more, I think that's what I absolutely love about product. Like, you can launch something that you've been kind of working on just for a really long time, and you forget like you're launching a feature, but there's actually hundreds and thousands of people that are using this feature that you're developing and you're putting out there, whether you're getting good or bad feedback. Like you forget that, especially in what I do at DAZN, and we're working on like some of the like the Fury and Usyk fight that we just had on the last recent weekend just gone. Some of the biggest fights with like AJ and Canelo, and like all my family and friends are kind of sharing things on Twitter, and I'm like, oh my god, wow, they're actually using features and tools that I've worked on and then that I've developed. So I think that's what really excites me, and seeing that growth. And now I'm like, there are people in Spain and India and Poland and Taiwan that are using these features as well. So as excited as I can see the people around me are using this product, I'm like, I want people in other regions to feel that way as well when they're interacting with the product that we're developing. Um, yeah, and are the things that they're seeing in the product, is this the behavior they're expecting to see? Can we introduce new things to the market? Can we learn new things from the market? And all of those things. So yeah, it really, the growth side of things really excites me, I think.
Very cool. Yeah, I
Yeah.
imagine getting to see people you know and love excited about what you've created. That's a great feeling. And
Yeah.
as you say, that's going global, so even more impactful.
Yeah,
Um,
fight day is the my favorite day of the month, wherever it is. Like the build up to it is insane, but the actual day where everybody outside of the office that doesn't work at the zone is really excited. Like it just reminds me of kind of why I'm doing what I'm doing and why we work so hard to do what we do as well.
I love that. That's your motivation, right?
Yeah, yeah, my personal motivation. Yeah,
I love that. So we're talking about your team and all the people that both you are managing and certainly stakeholders that you're influencing. But when you're hiring for your team, is there something particular you really look for when hiring product managers?
yeah, and it changes depending on kind of where I am, which company I'm at. But I think there's always this divide between kind of measuring hard skills and what we would call soft skills.
Mm.
I think I always lean more towards those soft skills. And is somebody motivated? Do I feel like they could be brave enough to kind of be really proactive and grab the bull by the horns? And are they really interested in what we're trying to achieve here? Are they interested in product management itself? I think a lot of the things around methodologies and processes around being a product manager, we can teach those things. But some of the other things that I feel like are essential to product management, we can still teach them. But like, if that foundation is there, for me, that person really stands out. How well do they communicate? If they don't know something, can they communicate that they don't know something and not feel like they have to know everything and feel comfortable asking questions? Is someone curious and inquisitive? Is someone kind of eager to learn? Do they have they taken the initiative to maybe map out what they want to achieve a little bit more, or are they kind of just floating around trying to figure out what they want to do, which is absolutely fine. I don't necessarily know exactly what I want to do next, but I try to be proactive in exploring different things to help me kind of figure out which road I'm going to go down. So yeah, I think for me what's really important is, yeah, it is somebody kind of taking control of what they want to do and what they want to achieve. And if they can, that's when I'm really eager to have them on my team. And then it's like, how can I now help them achieve that as well?
Right. And as you say, teaching them whatever process or those hard skills that they might be lacking, that's something that you can fill in. But I
For
love
sure.
how, yes, I love how finding those soft skills are really what draws your attention to a candidate. That's always helpful to know.
For sure. Yeah, and even if they don't have like soft skills, for me could even still be taught. If somebody's open and says, "Look, I'm not fantastic at public speaking. I really want to learn more about leading meetings better, but putting my ideas down on PowerPoint presentations, I've really been working on it, and I'm great at that." That kind of shows me there's a gap here, but they're willing to learn. We can definitely teach them those soft skills as well. But knowing that they've already identified where their strengths and weaknesses are, they've been proactive in understanding who they are, and they know where they kind of want to fill those gaps. I think those things are really attractive when looking for product managers.
Yeah, that's great. And then specifically, as our segment, Trailblazing Women in Product Management, we really do love to encourage women to really consider the space of product management. So I'd love to hear if there's some specific advice that you have, Millie, for women considering product management.
Yeah, most certainly. I think Um, I kind of always approach my career as if it's a product, and I'm developing a roadmap and I'm finding out where the problems are and I'm finding solutions to those problems, where it, like I said, kind of gaps in my knowledge. But I think a key thing, especially when thinking about maybe which companies you want to work for, especially if you are quite early on in your career, two things for me. I think about kind of what type of workplace do you want to work in? Do you want to be somewhere that's, do you think you would thrive in environments that's slightly more entrepreneurial, where you kind of maybe get to develop your role with a bit more flexibility, is maybe slightly less process and product structure in that sense, and you can kind of go in and really navigate yourself? Or are you in a place where you want to be in an environment where there is slightly more structure, and you want to really learn those processes, and you want somebody to say, look, this is where we need to go, this is what we need to do, this is how we need to get there? Kind of what style suits you best? Sometimes for me, it's being a little bit more messy, figuring stuff out, making a few mistakes, and then kind of learning that way. But some people are very different, and if you can kind of tell someone this is the process, this is the way we should be doing it, they pick things up really quickly and then can kind of roll with that. So for me, it's environment. And then this, sometimes also one thing I've learned is the stage that a company is at as well, when you're kind of looking where to go. There's a very big difference between being product in a startup, a medium-sized business, and then like a large global business. Product management looks very different in all three of those places, and there's pros and cons to both, or to all three of them. So it's thinking about, again, what type of environment do you think is best for you at that stage in your career, and where you might thrive as well. Sometimes being in a slightly smaller company, you can kind of sit closer to finance, sit closer to marketing, sit closer to the operations team, and learn a little bit from them. And yeah, I found that that's what I did quite early on in my career. And now being at a slightly bigger company, I now have the opportunity to kind of understand what other bigger departments are doing, like the creative team, and that sometimes gives you the opportunity to kind of pivot sideways. And gave me uh, some of the team that some that I'm managing now, is we're kind of having the conversation around, do you see yourself more as kind of a principal product manager, or like a head of, where you start leading a team? I think in a bigger company you can explore those options a little bit more. So really think about where you are, what you're trying to get out of your next steps, and then what type of environment will help you achieve those things as well. I think that's what's helped me in the past.
Yeah, I'd love to hear how for you, Millie, that came about. It sounds so introspective, and we don't always take the time to do that. Sometimes we're just going with our circumstances. So can you share maybe how you became so introspective and really learning what was best for you?
Again, I think I've made those mistakes of just going first, especially early on. Somebody's offering me a job. I'm very grateful for that job, so I'm just going to take it. But it's a two-way street. What am I going to get out of this? So I think in the beginning, I wasn't asking those right questions in the interview. So now I would ask those questions. For example, what's the structure that you have? Do you have engineering managers? Do you have like, do you work in kind of an agile way? If so, do you have scrum masters? And it took me a really long time to learn to ask those types of questions. And yeah, like I said, I think the introspective part comes from looking at my career as a product. And when I look at products, like I said, I'm always asking why. Why are we building this? Why is there a problem at this stage in the sign up funnel? Why is the stakeholders asking me for this? And then I ask the same questions about myself. Why do I? Why would I be interested in this area of product? Why am I interested in sports? And I'm like, actually, I'm interested in sports because I know how sports makes me feel when I'm watching it and I'm engaging with it and my team is winning. How can I build a product that helps people feel that way? So I'm always kind of asking that question, why, with anything that I do. It's a balance. It's sometimes very easy to get bogged down in asking those questions. Um, and then it's very easy sometimes just to do. So it's finding that fine balance between being proactive but always reevaluating the direction that you're taking. And I think that's the same when thinking about a product roadmap, is being proactive with it, but always asking, why are we doing this? Is this still the right direction? And that comes from kind of understanding what the top line goal is, I guess.
Yeah, that's great advice for our career management. And I love the examples of questions to ask in an interview. I think that's really helpful. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us today, Millie?
what I was kind of saying earlier on around there being various different types of product managers, and I think people think there's product and that's it, but there's so many different types of product managers, and it's okay to kind of explore the different variations that you might be. Are you more kind of design focused, or are you more interested in the business acumen side of things, where you really want to dig down into the marketing side and the finance side, or are you slightly more techy and you're really interested in building more scalable products, but it's also really good or necessary to have a blend of all of those three as well, but kind of leaning into where your passions lie. um yeah, and that for me has always helped me stay slightly motivated whenever I'm faced with big problems, or my workplace is slightly challenging, or I feel like I'm stuck. Just always kind of going back to where my motivations lie and why I'm doing what I'm doing, and yeah, asking if I'm in the right place still. Is it time to move? Am I getting the most out of the company as well? I know companies know how to get the most out of us, but are we getting the most out of the companies that we're in? Are we asking people, can I sit next to you and learn something? Are we asking, can we go on this course, or can I work on this project? Yeah, just try and get the most out of things. Yeah, that's the takeaway that I have, in some of the things that I learned and wished I did slightly earlier on.
Right. I love that. What's so great about these interviews is what can we pass on that we wish
Yeah,
we had
for
learned
sure.
earlier. That's fantastic. Well, thank you. I think that's just really encouraging and such great advice to help our audience really think about what they want from their career and where they'd like to see themselves, and then great advice on how to actually get there. Would you like to share how anyone can stay in touch and get in touch with you?
Yeah, sure. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn, so you can literally just search Millie Zah. You should be able to find me on LinkedIn. I do my best to kind of try and reply to everyone as much as I can. I absolutely love connecting. I try to mentor as much as I can as well. Yeah, so yeah, please reach out to me. LinkedIn, Millie Zah. I should be easy enough to find. DAZN looks like DAZN, but it's DAZN, DAZN. Yeah, so more than happy to connect with anybody.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for being with us today. I loved hearing your personal stories and how that has helped you grow through your career. And for our audience, thank you for listening and for tuning in with us today. If you enjoyed today's conversation, don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned for more empowering stories from the world of product management. I am Nicole Tieche, and this is Productside Stories. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in to Productside Stories. I hope today's insights inspire you and propel your product journey forward. Remember, every challenge is a lesson waiting to be learned. Visit us at productside.com for more free resources like webinars, templates, playbooks, and other product wisdom we've packaged for you. I'm Nicole Tieche, and until next time, keep innovating, keep leading, and keep creating stories worth sharing.